Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Ian McDonald with Songwriting Magazine. We have a surprise live stream today with Mr. Dale Crover of the Melvins, Altamont, Nirvana. The list goes on and on and on. And we're also joined here by Songwriting Magazine's elite staff supreme member, Jeff Christopher, or as everyone in the scene knows him, the Grindstopher.
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 Dale,
Surprise.
how are you? Thank you for joining us. How are we doing there, Dale?
Good. I'm doing great. How about yourselves?
Doing great. Where are you calling us from here today?
I'm calling from the desert in California.
Nice.
Not the high desert, the low desert. The high desert's kind of methy. The low desert's more golfy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm here. I'm getting caffeinated. Ready to talk.
Good way to start the day.
Good deal. Well, I know there's probably all kinds of other interviews online that ask you similar questions, and we don't want to do too much of that, but would you mind starting off with a little bit for me and for Sick Drummer fans, giving us a little bit of intro to your playing background, particularly when and who maybe, or what song or songs or band or person made you want to pick up sticks and drum?
Sure. Well, my name's Dale. I've been in the Melvins for 39 years. We're having our 40th year anniversary coming up next year. Only 39 for me. I started playing drums when I was probably about 10 or 11, and I'd played guitar before that. And there was a friend of mine in the neighborhood who was a guitar player, and he kind of convinced me to play drums so we could jam. I got a drum set and started playing, probably when I was about 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And I guess the only other thing besides that made me want to play was Kiss.
You would not be the first person with that answer that we've talked
to.
To.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that say the same thing, you know? I mean, they were such a big influential band to a certain age group at a certain point in time, you know? Mm-hmm. Sure. Definitely, I can say that I first started learning drums to Kiss Alive, you know? So Peter Criss was kind of my first guy.
That's I remember I'm a few years younger, but Love Gun was a big one for me.
Right.
Back in those days.
Just staring at pictures of those drums, you know, that big, huge drum kit was so cool. And their stage setup and all that, you know. I wanted to do that. I wanted a big, giant drum kit. I couldn't get one. I didn't have enough money.
And you said that was around 11. Did you ever, after that, did you pursue lessons, or did you just learn on your own?
Yeah, no, I mean, I did take lessons. I started with a guy at a local music store who wasn't a drummer, but just kind of taught me how to read. And then I eventually started taking lessons from another guy who was professor at the local community college, and he was a drummer, and he was pretty good. So I learned all rudiments and stuff like that from him. So, but I always wanted to play rock drums. You know, I started out on snare drum, but I was already playing my drum set at home, you know.
Yeah. So did you have just a snare drum? Because I remember when I first started, I had a snare drum.
Yeah, it was snare drum.
A little stand off the bottom with a little cymbal off the top of it. And then I got my first drum set when I was 10 for Christmas.
Yeah, right. Yeah, lessons was just on snare drum to start with, you know. As all drummers know, that's where it starts. Rudiments and all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So from then,
the most boring practice in the world.
It is. It still is
to play drums by yourself. So I always played with records. You know, that was more exciting to me, was to play along with records.
Those big headphones on with the big coily wire.
Exactly. Yep.
So how long did it take from that point to get into any kind of band situation or just jam situations with others?
Not too long afterwards. The guy that actually convinced me to play drums and buy a drum kit was he ended up being the guitar player from Metal Church, Craig Wells. And he was kind of an influential guy on me musically just because he turned me on to like Zeppelin. And, you know, this was kind of like after I was into Kiss already. So that was his favorite band, was Zeppelin. And then all of a sudden, you know, bands like Judas Priest were popping up. And that seemed like an obvious step after being into Kiss. You know, if you look at Kiss Alive and then look at Judas Priest Unleashed in the East, it's like, you know, they're still kind of dressed up, but they're just not wearing clown makeup. You know, mm-hmm. a little heavier or whatever, and that's kind of what I was into. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. I know that he also turned me on to Ziggy Stardust, things like that. And then, you know, I guess from there, I started meeting other guys around town that were a little older than me that were trying to start bands, cover bands. I played in a cover band for a while. It was kind of slim pickings where I came from, musician-wise, so you could kind of play with anybody you could find, really. Mm-hmm. So very cool. Most people are older than me, though. You know, they still are. Except for
they still are.
I mean, most of the people I play with, usually.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you grew up in the Aberdeen area, like
yeah.
Okay, so like, did you? I know that Buzz went to school with Kurt, and you know he was really close with Kurt. Is that how you got hooked up with Nirvana? Was being from the same area and just kind of knowing the same circle of?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, they Buzz and our old bass player knew him from Montesano, the neighboring town. Kurt was younger than them. Kurt was my age, and those guys are about 3.5 years older than me. Buzz is anyway, and so, but they knew him from like the high school and junior high school in Montesano were combined, so they knew him from that, and I think also from like Little League Baseball. But yeah, I mean, there just wasn't. I mean, it's such an isolated area, that whole area, that you knew anybody that played music. You know, like the first time I saw the Melvins was them playing at this radio show, talent show at the local Elks Club Lodge. You know, so
wow.
There just wasn't that many bands, and they were doing something that was completely unique, which was playing original music while everybody else was playing cover songs. You know, but I mean, I was 16. I could take what I could get.
Right.
You know, just being able to play with other musicians and being in a band was fun. You know, at that age. You know, didn't matter what it was. Might not have been the kind of music I was into, you know, because even like the cover bands I played in they kind of had to play more of like, you know, well, we've got to play like, you know, Loverboy and Eddie Money, and I'm like, well, we don't have to, but I guess.
It's popular with the ladies, the Loverboy.
Kind of, I mean, you know, we were playing like, high school dances, so that was probably what your repertoire required.
Sure.
Just remind me of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. I don't know why.
What's that?
The Enchantment Under the Sea dance from Back to the Future came into mind. So, Jeff, did you have anything else to go on with that point about you know, meeting up with Nirvana?
Oh yeah, I didn't really tell you about that. I mean, it's well documented.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I met Kurt not long after I joined the Melvins, just because Buzz and Matt Lucan had seen him on the bus on the way to my house to practice. You know, and it was kind of like, hey, we just saw this guy that we know who's really into music, and he goes to your high school, and like I met him the next day. So it's kind of funny how that stuff happens. And I already knew Chris before that. I mean, Chris actually had kind of played with the Melvins, Chris Novoselic, before that, and he's the guy that brought those guys over to my house to ask me to join the band. So it's all very incestuous.
That's so cool. Just hearing it from you. I mean, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is definitely cool. Right, it's an honor to have you on here, sir.
Thank you.
So you were with Nirvana on and off for what, 15, 16 years, maybe?
Not even that long, really. I mean,
no?
With them playing with them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was really a short amount of time. You know, I'd played with both those guys on and off. You know, Kurt for sure, and when he was first starting to like write songs and stuff like that, we'd play with each other when Melvins weren't doing whatever we weren't doing. We were constantly practicing, so it probably, I don't know, you know. I think we just spent most of our time just playing music because there's nothing else to do. But no, it was a really short amount of time. I recorded their first demo, and that was like we recorded a demo and played a show all in one day. You know, all this stuff happened in like a very small amount of time, and I mean, which it all kind of seems kind of meaningless, but you know, people still want to know about it, which is kind of funny, you know, after all these years. But then I also played with those guys live a little bit too. So, and yeah.
I think one of my favorite videos I've seen is from you all playing in a Radio Shack.
Right. Yeah.
Like that is just like, so cool.
that was like the day after we recorded the demo and played the show.
Is that where you got the headphones that you used to practice from?
Probably.
I had Radio Shack headphones.
We knew this guy who was the manager, and we had just done that demo tape. He's like, "Hey, come on down after hours, and we can set up all the video equipment and goofy stuff we have in the shop, and just, you know, make a video for fun." And so, yeah, that stuff's recently seemed to have surfaced on YouTube and whatnot. It's pretty funny.
Very cool. Now, as far as writing and jamming and not having much else to do, Melvins, you all put out a lot of albums. I mean, pretty regularly. I mean, you have a lot of material. Like, do you and Buzz just get together and just jam until something happens, or like, does he write the songs and then you just kind of come in? Or, I mean, because he's said in interviews that he's a riff monster or riff master or whatever. He's constantly writing. You know, just how does that come together for the two of you?
I mean, it depends on what's going on, really. I mean, you know, early on we would rehearse and write stuff all the time, but we didn't have really any outlet for it other than playing live. I mean, there was probably a good album's worth of songs, if not more, that just never saw the light of day because we moved on from it. You know, didn't have any means to record or a label or anything like that, and then just eventually wrote better songs anyway. But I mean, you know, now if we decide, we're going to get together and do a record, I mean, sometimes we'll sit there and come up with something brand new. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure he's got a vast back catalog of riffs that if he decided that he would never write another riff today, we would probably still make records until the day we die.
Because of everything he's got saved up. Yeah. Sure.
Well, a minute ago you said you found it interesting that people still want to know and they still ask about it. And, you know, not to fanboy, but, you know, a lot of people, including myself, consider you one of the godfathers of grunge.
Oh, well, thank you. I understand all that, and I don't mind talking about all that stuff for sure. I realize, you know, I know that, I mean, even today, like we get kids that are new music fans that discover us from all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm happy that people still care.
Yeah. So what was your favorite, you know, part of, you know, what you did with Nirvana, a particular song, or was it the album? Because I mean, for me, it was Insecticide, and particularly one of the songs, Aero Zeppelin, I guess, would be my favorite.
Yeah.
And
really?
I think it, to me, still, there's just a rawness to the recording of it, and I think that lended a hand, I think, to what we were just talking about with some of the progression of the early grunge, and I think it's one of Nirvana's best songs. And right. I also think that when you listen to like 1993 like Tool Undertow record, I hear pieces of Aero Zeppelin and Insecticide on Tool's Undertow, and I'm wondering if you've ever heard that.
No.
Or thought that. No.
But I mean, I don't know that that's true. It's funny that you think, like, I think of that song of like, and when I hear it, I'm like, oh God, I had way too many cups of coffee and we're like chomping on chocolate covered espresso beans and like playing so fast I practically lose it. But it was just a demo. I mean, we were trying to like plow through 10 songs as quickly as we could so we could have that and get out of there and go play our gig in Tacoma that night. Mm-hmm. You know, so I mean, we had rehearsed a bunch, and so, you know, we just plowed right through it.
Speaking of demos, hold on one second. I have something.
Uh-oh. Jeff is a crazy collector. In case you can't see behind him, I don't know
I
anyone
can't
else.
see you now.
Yeah, he's got an insano record collection.
It's a bootleg. I don't even have
Oh yeah, that's a bootleg.
Yeah,
for sure. But
too bad it's a bootleg.
I know.
Yeah, right.
But still, to be able to listen to that on vinyl is just awesome.
Yeah.
Just hold the demo.
So it sounds okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, it sounds great.
Wow. Well, maybe if whoever made those bootlegs, maybe they'll see this and maybe give me one someday, just so I could have it for my collection.
Self-promotion.
I don't.
Speaking of vinyl, do you collect the vinyl that you all press?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you must have a massive collection.
Oh boy, show and tell.
And if you have extras, I want some.
I got way too much. Well, this is newish.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else I got. Here's nothing. Well, this is really cool. How about this one?
Oh wow,
nice. That's a good. I think that's the only one of those I'm missing, actually.
Oh really? Yeah, I got a lot of art editions, but that came out recently, like the stuff that Buzz and Mackie print themselves. You know,
those are the best. Yep, very very limited.
Yeah. And then Hazelmeyer stuff. You know, a lot of that stuff's really good.
Oh, the Houdini. That's awesome.
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really good. So yeah, I mean, there's so much of it, you know.
Yeah. Well, I remember back the first time that I had met you on the 30 days or 30 shows in 30 days tour. I was talking to Buzz.
That was 51 shows.
50. That's right. 50. I'm sorry. It's early.
51.
51 shows and 50.
There's 50 states.
I had asked Buzz
states.
about collecting vinyl, and he said that he doesn't collect. Like he's never collected your own record.
I mean, maybe a long time ago when that's all there was. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, I mean, once CDs came out, we were so excited just because they sounded so much better. You know, when we grew up, I mean, I always had just like a crappy stereo. So, and everything sounded shitty. So when CDs came along, it was great to hear everything without a bunch of surface noise and crackles. You know, my very first copy of Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles had a big chip out of the edge of it because what was a hand-me-down to begin with. But I think one of my brothers had probably dropped it on the ground, and so the first couple of bars I had to miss out on because of that big chip. And then when I got the CD, it was so exciting to not have to move that needle over just a little bit to miss that chip. But you know, I mean, I have a shit ton of CDs still. I need to get a CD player, but I mean, I still have, you know, I have records.
Oh yeah.
You know, I got enough. That's enough.
It is. Yeah. That's.
You know, I got a lot of records I don't listen to. You know, I've been listening to some lately though, just because.
Anything new? Any new bands you're checking out or
new bands? Taipei Houston, which is a really good drummer too. And for people that don't know, that's a band with Lane and Miles Ulrich, whom they're related to. Their dad is Lars Ulrich. Two-piece band. It's really great. Yeah, good drummer, good bass player. Sick drummer.
I see what you did there.
Sick drummer. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to go on tour with us in Europe too. So they did some shows with us just last year when we did the States. And yeah, we really liked them a lot. So we're like, hey, you guys should come to Europe with us.
Yeah, I remember you being enthusiastic about them whenever I was talking to you in St. Louis on the last tour.
Right.
Because they dropped off like a couple of days before that, and you're like, oh, you just missed them. Like,
yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to think of what else. I know there's probably some other stuff, but I'm blanking right now. I don't know. But that's a good one, you know. Oh, there's another band that we played with on the last tour. They did one show with us called Mr. Flies that I thought were really cool. Another two-piece. Yeah.
A lot of
Funny
two pieces.
Funny that there's a lot of two-piece bands right now. One of the guys I used to play with a long time ago when I was first starting to play was this guitar player, and we were kind of a two-piece band. And he was one of the guys that I could relate to mostly musically because he liked the same kind of stuff like Sabbath and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and that kind of stuff. And he's actually the guy that showed Buzz how to tune down to D, the Sabbath tuning, open D or drop D, who in turn showed it to Kim Thale. So there you go. One of the guys I used to play with in a two-piece band was responsible for drop D tuning for Melvins and Soundgarden, and probably a lot of other bands.
Wow.
But it all came from Sabbath, and they stole it from somebody else. So, that's the way it goes.
It's funny going back a minute ago when you said I got to get a CD player. I thought the same thing because I'm surrounded by CDs all around me that I don't listen to anymore. And new computers don't have CD players. New cars don't have CD players. It's like I can't find a CD player, and it's weird. You know what I mean? And now I'm all about going to buy a new turntable.
Yeah.
Funny how things, history repeats itself like that. It's interesting.
Right. I know. You can't really even give CDs away right now, but maybe it'll all turn around. I mean, they sound great. I think they sound really good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I only had shitty stereos growing up. So once you could buy a CD player and it's you could get a stereo for fairly cheap and have it sound great. I remember in the early when CDs were starting to get really popular in the beginning of the 90s, going to Tower Records because that was the only good record store in San Francisco where you could buy cheap records. You get CDs for under $10. I was going and just buying everything. It was great.
It's
the
sad.
good old days.
Yeah,
the good old days.
It's sad. I miss them.
Yeah, but I gotta say I like being able to hold my whole record collection in the palm of my hand when I go on tour. And not have to dig through my CDs or cassette tapes going, what am I going to want to listen to for the next 2 months?
Right.
Now it rules. It's great. I can listen to anything I want to.
Yeah, that is the plus side for sure.
Well, and plus, besides that, I think I've heard more music than I would have normally.
This is true as well. All the services, and I've seen a lot of bands now are just handing out download codes, you know what I mean? So a little card and it shows instead of CDs or whatever, just a little business card with a download code from, CD Baby or, Bandcamp or, any of these other services. It's pretty, it's just pretty wild how it's DistroKid, that kind of stuff. It's interesting to watch the progression of how these things work.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think people have more access to music and certainly, I see younger people that discover way more stuff, but the days of making a bunch of money off of that stuff is over.
Long over.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
it was already hard to do that to begin with. So.
Well, I have one more question real quick. When we were talking about insecticide and how I thought that some of that influenced some early Tool. Were you or are you a fan of the band Quicksand and particularly the album?
Oh yeah,
I
know we'd played with those guys once, that long time ago. Those guys in Helmet.
I think Slip just turned 30 years old a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow! Didn't they reform recently?
Yes. Yeah, and it sounds good.
Right on.
All right. Real quick, I know you are, if you can confirm, but through your PR, you're still endorsing Tama, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been with those
and
guys
also
for a long
Pasty
time.
and Aquarian?
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct.
Why don't you, I'm going to go ahead and take a little break here. We have a promo from Tama that we've had on file here. I'm just going to play it real quick, and then maybe you can tell us a little bit about your Tama setup.
Sure.
So everyone just sit back for 15 seconds and we'll be right back. Right on. That was from an interview we did back in October. It was our first live interview on YouTube. You are the second, sir, by the
All
way.
right. Very cool.
And that was Mr. Dirk Verburen, also Tama endorsee.
I see. Yes.
How long have you been with Tama?
I've been with them for a long time now. I got hooked up with them when we were doing Houdini, and I needed snare drums. I think the only thing I had, which was great live, I had this big, deep Ludwig marching snare, like 15-inch by, like 15 by whatever, super deep. But, recording with it, it just it was always hard to get a good sound out of it. It was kind of like too much of a bucket. So, we had just signed a deal with Atlantic, and the guys that helped us sign that deal were these lawyer/manager guys, and they knew the Tama people and offered to introduce me. And so, they sent me some snare drums for that session, and then decided that they wanted to do a full endorsement and asked me what kind of drum kit I wanted.
Nice.
and
Nice.
I said, do you guys still make a gong bass drum? They're like, yes, we do. So the first kit I got was this purple drum kit. I designed the color. It was a purple sparkle drum kit. I remember they were trying to get the metal flake wasn't as big as I'd hoped to get, because they didn't have the paint gun that could take really big flakes. So, but it still looked pretty good. It's still a custom paint job. Art Star 2 had a 26-inch kick drum, a 16-inch rack, a 20 floor, and a 20 with a 22 gong bass drum. So, and I played that kit for a long time.
I love it.
And one of those in the snare drum too, like really thick snare drum that was like, I don't know, 100 plies or whatever.
It's nostalgia right now running through my whole body, because my first drum kit was an Art Star and it was purple.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Give me all goosebumpy.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, then after that, I got a Babinga kit. Once we had the big business guys in the band, Cody and I decided we needed matching drum kits, and Tama had just come out with the Babinga kits, and so we each got one. Those are great. I still have that kit, and it sounds really, really nice. That was a big kit too. Well, that was 24 kick, 15 rack. I think I had 18 floor, and then a gong bass drum with that was had floor tom legs on it. And Cody had a similar kit. I think his bass drum might have been shorter, and then he had a 14 tom. I think he had 14, 18, and he also had a gong bass drum. So that's pretty cool. But then the kit I'm using now is Star Classic. It's 24 by 14, and then 13, 16 toms.
Maple?
So, yeah. Star Classic Maple.
Yeah. They are beautiful.
Pink champagne sparkle.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Right.
I have two of them, two matching kits. One here and one in Europe. So I haven't seen the one in Europe for a while, so I'm going to see it pretty soon.
Well, that's the great thing about dealing with a company like Tama, who's owned by a company like Hoshino. I mean, wherever you go, you have options. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They've. It's been a long time. I think I got hooked up with them in '92. So yeah. Well,
so can I ask who your rep is now or was?
Now it's Sam Gamble out of LA.
1 second, you're kind of freezing up there. Oh, you're back.
Did you hear what I said?
No, I missed the name.
Sam Gamble he's out of Los Angeles.
So did you before that work with Aaron Vishria?
Yep.
I miss Aaron.
Yeah,
I still talk to him, but
yeah, I haven't talked to him for a while, but I know he went over to Dario, I believe.
Yeah, great dude.
Yeah,
great dude.
Yeah. So I've been there for a long time. There's been maybe 4 reps, and I'm still around. So.
I believe it was the 40th anniversary. I may be mistaken. At NAMM probably 6-8 years ago, they had a big, huge party at the.
NAMM.
Yeah, it was at NAMM, but it was the Sheraton. I was trying to remember the room, and Aaron hooked me and my guys up with access to film and everything else, and I got to sit right next to Billy Cobham's family in the front row and watch him perform at the event.
Wow.
And I got goosebumps just telling you about it.
That's great. Yeah, I've never seen him play. That would be really great.
It was. I don't know how to say it. You know what I mean? Your whole life growing up, you want to see this guy, and then when you do, it checked off every box. You know.
Is he still a Tama guy?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Is he? Oh, that's really cool. I mean, I should know that. You know, I remember he had the kit that was all gong drums.
Yeah. Legend.
Yeah.
His mother, his uncles. I felt like I was part of the family, and it was all thanks to Aaron Vishria. So, Aaron, if you see this, thank you, sir.
Aaron's a good guy.
Yeah. And you're still playing. Let me just go ahead and you're still playing Aquarian Heads, you said, correct?
Aquarian Drumheads, yeah.
We'll give Aquarian a little bit of a plug while you
sure.
Tell us about maybe the current setup you're using with Aquarian.
Right now, response 2 on the toms, and then high velocity on the snare. Then on the kick drum is the fourth one, I think, on the beater side, with the the little sound ring.
Yep.
So those sound great. And then on the front, I usually use like I don't know whatever their front head is with a hole.
Oh, the Rezo head with the hole? Yeah, that one's awesome.
Yeah. Not the one with the muffling though.
No.
So yeah.
That's cool. How long have you been with them for?
A long time as well. Probably almost as long as Tama. For a long time. So I'd say probably, yeah, I moved about 1.5 years ago and I found the contract and I was just like, holy shit, it's been a long time.
Oh,
yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, very deserving as well. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
We might as well just give Pasty a little plug too, and then we can.
Yeah, I just got some new cymbals from them too. The Color Sound 900.
Are they also pink champagne?
They're purple. Because that's all they had.
Yeah, like the.
But I like purple, so.
Like the Danny Carey kind of purplish, or a different purplish.
Like a deep purple.
Oh, no pun intended.
Yeah, I wonder. You know what? I wonder if Ian Pace uses purple pasties.
He should.
He should. He should. He should for sure.
They're a great company.
Those sound really good.
They do sound really good.
So yeah. I think purple. I mean, since everybody's coming back from being locked up for 2 years, I think that's all they had was purple cymbals.
They're trying to get rid of them, like Pearl tried to get rid of the reference series after Guitar Center sent them back a bunch of inventory.
Oh no.
So out of all the gear you've played and had and have, is there maybe one piece that's been the most reliable piece that you've had forever and you couldn't do without? Reliable?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try not to count on something too heavily, I mean, I guess for the Melvins, definitely like Ribbon Crasher. And I guess that would be another company that I kind of endorse, would be Pete Engelhardt. And I've used his stuff for a long time now. Probably since the Bullhead record, I think, is when I first started using that stuff. So I think the Ribbon Crasher made its first appearance on that record on the song Zodiac, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I don't know. We've always been into kind of noisy stuff. Kind of like bands like noisy bands like Grindstopher, Neubauten, or Pussy Galore. And I remember not long after seeing that band, the latter band, that seeing like that Ribbon Crasher and both Buzz and I seeing it and trying it out and just going, wow, that would sound really cool in something. We should incorporate that into our thing. And so, yeah, that stayed for a long time.
I have a question about your monitors. I don't know if you endorse any, but do you have a favorite pair or a favorite brand that you use as far as
Oh, like
in-ears?
headphone or in-ears. I don't use in-ears live.
I didn't think so. It's because
No.
I've seen a ton of pictures and I've seen you live. I could never really tell if you did or didn't, or if they were hidden or not. So
I've thought about it, but then I think also I use that headset mic, so having that and headphones or in-ears would be kind of a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I've toyed with the idea, but it just kind of seems like, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to carry around my own kind of monitor system, I think, to get it right. We've built a career on having shitty monitor systems and just getting used to that kind of thing. So,
well, that's awesome. I mean, so no triggers, no click, no in-ears. So you're just raw all the time. I mean, that's
but I mean, I like to have them set a certain way. I mean, vocals for sure have to be pumped through them as much as possible, and all the vocals. And then I like having kick, snare, and toms in my monitors for sure. If you get a good monitor mix going with like a kick drum that just punches you in the chest, you just play better. It's easier to play. I never used to have that kind of stuff going through my monitors, but we had this sound guy who had also worked with Dave Lombardo, and he's like, he puts a little bit of the toms in there, and I'm like, oh really? And so I started doing that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I mean, I don't know, if you can hear it a little bit more, and especially if it's in a situation where, I don't know, it's kind of open, the space is kind of open, just kind of helps, but it's different every night. You never know what's going to happen. So like with Buzz, he doesn't like to have anything on the monitor besides vocal, and that's just because he's used to it that way, and there's less to have somebody fuck things up. Trying to put a bunch of stuff in there and getting it equal, he'd rather just have it. He's like that's all I need, vocals. I can hear your drums fine, I can hear the bass fine, I can hear my guitar. So,
I wish more bands would embrace that mentality.
Yeah. I met Simon Kirk, and I probably told this story once a bunch of times before, but he's the drummer from Free, Bad Company, and I was playing a gig with this band, Raging Slab, and we're opening up for Leslie West, and he was guest starring, and he was in the dressing room, and it was right after sound check, and he's just starts talking. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm not used to monitors. Like, they had a bunch of like stuff in the monitors, guitar and drums and stuff, and back when Free played Isle of Wight, we didn't have monitors. We just got used to playing without monitors. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He starts talking about that gig in particular. And then he also shed some light on something which I was like, oh, yeah, no shit. Like, the reason everybody had big amps back then, the reason people have Marshall stacks was because they didn't have monitors. They had shitty PA systems. So that's how they were able to hear. We don't have that now you don't need a big amp.
No,
but for the most part, and most people that have big amps and they're playing in clubs, it's too much. All you can hear is the guitar. You can't hear anything else. You can't hear the drums. You can't hear the vocals. So that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny knowing like the reason that people had big giant backlines is because the PA sucked and there's no monitors.
I would imagine that will correlate to a lot less cases of tinnitus or tinnitus in 20 years from now, because going from those types of setups in the late 60s, early 70s, 80s to where we are now, there's more education and there's more awareness about protecting your ears, which I never had growing up. It was always just wedges right there, no nothing, sure. Just cymbals for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I have it, but now kids, I saw a show the other night, none of the bands used any wedge of any sort because they all just had the in-ears.
Wow.
One amp, great stage volume.
Yeah.
And they will not have the same problems that our generation and the previous generations have had with hearing loss when they turn 40 and 50, which to me is very interesting and a good progression.
Maybe, but all of them have headphones and constantly crank their headphones. So I think the problem
this is true
exist. So if I had the money, I'd invest in a hearing aid company. Be a good idea.
All right, let's move on then to.
I have a good one. I have one question that I want to get off my chest while we were still kind of talking about the Bullhead album. Sure. The song Cow. The last 2 minutes of Cow is the I've always wondered, like, how did that come to be? Because the song starts off just like a normal dun 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 dun, you know, just like a regular song. But then after a while, everybody else kind of drowns out, and it's just you.
Yeah.
For the last 2 minutes, and that beat, just the whole thing is like, what is he doing? Because it's just, you know, all over the place. And how did that come to be? Like, is my theory correct? Where, you know, in the studio they just kind of drown the levels on everybody else out, and you were still playing along to them.
Kind of. I think it was supposed to end that way. You know, it was probably that's probably the ending we came up with. I think it was just supposed to like end in a drum solo. And what am I doing? Dorking out. No idea. No idea.
It to this day is one of the greatest drum fills I've ever heard. I mean, it is phenomenal.
Thanks. Phenomenal. And then I have a broken ice bell too. You can tell it goes.
Yeah.
Did you say ice bell?
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. How did you break an ice bell?
Wailing on it with big giant drumsticks for a long time.
I don't think I've ever seen an ice bell broken.
I probably use it. I probably misuse it. You know, the way that, you know, I'm sure the way that it's supposed to be played isn't the way that I'm playing it. You know.
Well, there's no rules.
No, there's no rules. But I'm sure I was hammering on the edge, and that's how it broke. So, but it sounded cool.
What was it, like a marching stick or? It wasn't a 5/8.
Oh, I don't know. Probably back then I was probably using probably the biggest sticks I could get. You know, like it might have been Regal tip back then too. They might have been like 9,000s or whatever, or 7,000s, whatever the big ones were. You know, I used to use whatever their biggest quantum stick was.
Yeah, well, that would do it.
Yeah, so that's what it was.
There was one question that came up in the chat that I didn't put up on the screen, but if you do remember, it would be kind of interesting to hear. Do you remember any of the drum gear that you did use in the studio when you recorded with Nirvana on that early record we were mentioning for like the Aero Zeppelin type?
Yeah. I had a Ludwig kit, a kit I bought that was probably from the early '80s. I think it was it a rocker kit? It might have been. It had a 26 kick. I think that I can't remember what tom. I just got a new tom for it right around then, and so it might have been like a 16. And then that kit came with a 26, 14, 18, 20, and then I bought a 16 for it and used it as a rack tom. And then I bought a 15 for it and used it as a rack tom. So, but I had that kit that kit was on. That might have been the first thing that I recorded with it, was that Nirvana demo. And then it was on every record up until Houdini.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Well, thank you for the question.
I played a lot with it live, too. It had a Hot Wheel sticker on it. So if you ever look at old pictures of the band or me or whatever, and if you see the Hot Wheels sticker on the drum kit, that was that kit.
Nice. Well, thank you for the question, Felipe. That was a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go. You mentioned 38 years in the beginning of this interview. That's how long you've been.
39.
39. I don't know how you could put it into words, but what's that like? I mean, that's
crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. Who would have thunk? So, but like I said before, I'm happy we're still doing it. You know.
I am too. I'm glad that you and Buzz are still making music.
Yeah. Right. Thanks. Good thing, because we burned every other bridge. So
now
nothing to fall back on.
Going into that, bassists in the Melvins, like that is, you all go through some bassists. Like, is it just because of a artistic aspect of it, or do you just like have friends that you want to bring in? Not like the whole Basses Loaded thing where you had 10 different bassists on the same album. But as far as having a member of the band, like how does that come to be with as far as bassists? Like, you've had Steven for a while.
We have. I don't know. I mean, it's like being in a relationship with people. I mean, sometimes things don't work out.
Sure.
I mean, I can say that kind of with almost every bass player. For whatever reason, things didn't work out and we had to move on.
Yeah, just
it's really as simple as that. So,
fair enough.
you know, it's not, I mean, it's not the easiest. I mean, the fact that we've been together, or that the band's even existed this long, is crazy. You know, 40 years. I mean, you know,
It's mind blowing.
right. You know, like, I mean, well, the Beatles were only around for 10 years or whatever, you know? So it just, I mean, or most, probably every band I like, it was only around for, you know, not that long, you know, except for a few, the Stones or somebody like that that are still going, or the Who,
Yeah.
or ZZ Top or somebody like that, you know? You know, unfortunately, all those bands don't have all their same members that they started with.
Exactly. That's the thing too.
Neither do we.
Pink Floyd's still touring, but there's Take Floyd and there's Gilmore and there's Waters,
Yeah,
and then
right.
there's
Right.
these different iterations of these bands that have been around for that long. I mean, Aerosmith. I mean,
Right.
You know?
They might, like, those guys might be the only one to come to think of it. Like, who else that's been around that long that still has like the same guys that they started with?
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of anybody.
It's hard. It's tough. You know. Yeah.
The King Crimson would be the closest one that could still do it in my mind. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean,
'Cause
ZZ Top were until Dusty passed away. You know, and I was always like, that's really cool that they kept that going for that long. So, but I mean, you know, people change, things change. You know.
Well, it's a testament to relationships, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's like a marriage. Being with this, you know, the band that long it's insane, man. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
It's like, you know, most restaurants fail within the first year or two, and most bands break up because of someone can't get along with somebody. But
sure, or you just change, or whatever, you know.
It's just so hard to find a band with that longevity.
Right. Or how long do you stay in the same job? You know.
Too long. Oh, you weren't asking me?
Not you in particular, but you know what I mean. You know?
Sorry.
You know.
All right,
yeah, I mean, we feel fortunate that we've been able to make this work.
Yeah, he's a good fit. Steven's stage performance, his stage presence is he's fun.
Yeah.
The band collectively, you all live are just fun.
Yeah, and he's really kind of he's found his place. He's found his comfort zone. You know, which really, you know, all he had to do was just be himself. You know, but he's really, we really like playing with Steven a lot. You know, I think he really adds a lot. He's a good singer. He's a good guy too.
For sure.
And he and I also play in multiple bands now too. So Redd Kross.
Yeah, I got Redd Kross, and
so hopefully we'll do something soon too.
Very cool. Very cool.
Bad Mood Rising, I guess, has been out for about 5 months now?
Something like that. Yeah, it came out when we were on tour.
September. How's it doing in comparison to other releases so far?
I don't know. How is it in comparison to other releases? I mean, I really like the record a lot. I mean, like
sales-wise, is it performing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Hopefully great. You know, like I was saying earlier, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I think we do okay. We obviously we do good enough to keep making records. But yeah, I don't know. But I really like the record a lot, and that one, that was like Steven's kind of his third record, I guess. But you know, like I was saying, he's really come into his own, and his playing's great, and his vocals, and you know, just kind of everything about it. So. It seems like we made this record really quickly. I mean, I was done very quickly with my parts. But I don't know. It's kind of a return to kind of heavy stuff, especially after we just did that acoustic record. Mm-hmm. But then there's some almost like songs are really long, you know, and there's almost in some of them kind of a weird poppiness to it. Mm-hmm. You know? I don't know what that is. What do you guys think?
Let me know when you find out what it is.
Never Say You're Sorry is like one of my favorites ever that you all have written. I mean, just love
That's
it.
A good pounding heavy metal riff for sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We call it a junt.
Yeah, a junt.
Jump, jump, jump.
I gotcha.
So you said you did it quickly, and that was another one of my questions that I had written down that I'd like to find out.
I recorded my stuff quickly. Those guys, actually, Steve and Buzz went and just kind of hung out for the week and just sat down with the guitar and bass and just came up with a bunch of stuff and recorded it. Recorded demos, which we never really do. Usually we just go in the studio and just record. We never do demos because, well, it's like you get demo-itis, right? Where you fall in love with the demo. So we just figured we might as well just record and not worry about demos. But those guys went off on their own and wrote songs. So they came back with some stuff already solid for me to work with. And yeah, I mean, I pretty much would just, in the studio, I just, sat, learned the song, and once I knew it, recorded it and moved on. So I think I was there maybe 3 days.
So is that how you did it? Like you learn one, then track it, then learn one, then track it? Yep. Or did you learn them all before you went in to track any of it?
No, just sat down and started with one.
That's wild.
Next. Yeah.
And that's interesting too, where you just said demo-itis. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, we've done...
Do you think that most times, a lot of bands experience that, where they'll pre-production demo something, and then they'll go and track it, and they'll always end up liking what they did in pre-prod better? That's why you don't do that anymore?
I think so, yeah.
It's very interesting.
Or just take the demos and just work with those.
It's weird, but it's contradictory to another point that I tend to think is true a lot of times, where they'll say like the first movie in a series of movies is always the best, or a band's first record is a lot of times their best, or that's contradictory to that. You know what I mean?
Because, yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, but a lot of I think that happens to a lot of bands where they're just like, oh,
I do too.
It is the demo.
I never thought about it. It's pretty.
But I've done the same thing. I'll do like even like 4-track demos, and then I'll go into the studio. I'm like, I don't know, there's something about that was just kind of cool. But I mean, but whatever, it's different now for us because we record where we rehearse. So, before it would be like, okay, we have to book time to go into a professional studio, and we have to have our shit together before we go in and have everything learned. We're on the clock. Now we're not really on the clock. It's like, okay, we're so that made things just a lot different, and it's just a different way of recording or whatever, or songwriting. But it's a way that I like, because you don't have the pressure of time and money. It's like I'm now, and just of course it's doing it for so many years and being more comfortable recording, but now it's just way easier and way more comfortable, and I don't worry about that kind of stuff that I used to worry about, that probably a lot of people had the same worries. Like, we got to get this done, we've only got this much time to finish this thing,
You can't afford this shit. Yeah.
Right. And that's the background we came from. We were making records that recorded and mixed top to bottom in 4 days, Gluey Porch Treatments, 18 songs, 4 days, recorded and mixed,
Wow.
Same with Ozma, same with Bullhead. Bullhead, we actually went back and remixed a couple songs because we thought we rushed it, but that was still, I mean, we did that in like, 5 days maybe.
In the studio, is there a difference then as far as what you do with your click or no click, or in-ears or no in-ears? Is it all live in the studio, basically raw, or do you use metronome?
Mostly Melvin stuff is no click, but the last record was some click because.
And did you hate that?
No, I don't hate it.
No?
It's fine. I mean, it depends. It depends on what you want to do with your song. And I mean, and for me too, it depends on the band that I'm working with, and what they want to do with stuff. Like, for example, I just did I've done about 5 records with this band from Mexico called Low Flying Hawks, and we just did a record a couple months ago, and some of that stuff's cut up, so we did a lot of stuff with a click.
Sure.
Just because there was a plan that, it was going to be moved around and stuff like that. So, but most Melvin stuff, no. If I'm doing my own stuff, like solo stuff or whatever, then I do use a click because I start with guitar. and I'll play guitar to a click, and then go record drums, and then redo the guitar, and then add stuff on top of that. So
I gotta go back. I gotta go backwards again, and I apologize, but my mind is stuck on this. When you go into the studio to track the new songs,
mm-hmm.
you said you take one, you listen to it, you track it. You take another one, you listen to it, you track it. How much exposure to those songs did you have before the studio, or was it just pieces and bits and never a complete song?
The new record, I had the songs, but I just kind of listened to them and just just to kind of get familiar with them. But I mean, I learned them when I was in the studio getting ready to record them.
Right. So you didn't have like a month or a year or 6 months before where the songs were actually put together.
No.
Wow.
No.
I don't know if I can do that.
Well, none of the Melvin stuff's really been like that it's just because, we've done so many records,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it's like, it's a long progression. It's, it went from us not knowing anything about recording to now have done it so much that, I don't know, I'm well on the other side of being intimidated by it.
Sure.
And done it so much. And
here's a weird question, but I like to ask this because this is just something of mine personally that I have trouble with. So I like to see if other drummers have experienced similar issues. When I record, I have to have vocals in my ears.
Oh, wow, that's good. Yeah,
because that's what I play to. Can you track without vocals, or do you need them, or do you need something?
A lot of times there's not vocals. There's even times when it's not finished. Songs aren't finished or the vocals aren't written. So, yeah, but I know what you mean. Because I find that I do play off the vocals sometimes, and I know other people that say the same thing. I know bass players that say the same thing. I was just doing a record with somebody else, and the bass player was like, I really want to know what you're going to do with the vocals because that'll change my bass parts.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, isn't that funny?
It's
how the
funny,
rhythm section
and
does play off the vocals.
It's caused me troubles in the past where the guy wasn't there, or I didn't have a pre-production stem to throw into my in-ears, and I was trying to track these songs that I knew full well with vocals. But when that guy steps out of the room or is not there and it's not in the mix, it throws me for a loop and I mess up.
Right.
It's weird. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard too many people have that problem.
Yeah. Well, it's only because we don't have everything completely finished usually, but that stuff does help. The record I just did track was I'd actually rehearsed with the band a few times, so it was kind of the most rehearsed and prepared going into a project I'd been in a while. Usually it's just show up to the studio, learn the song, and go. Well,
it's awesome. Like you said, you've done enough. Most guys go in and they'll not be happy with what they did, and they'll want to change this and change this and change this and spend more money. Then they'll get out and they're still not happy with it, and they want to go back and change it right away. But you've kind of circumvented that problem by just tracking first and not demoing. So it's pretty smart, I guess.
Right. Well, I've talked about this before too. It's like, I noticed, and we've only been doing records like this, like, I don't know, maybe like the last 7-8 years or whatever, where we've actually had a studio. We have a studio. It's where we rehearse. We don't have to go to a commercial studio. And that's mostly because a lot of them don't exist anymore. Like in LA, it was full of studios and then they just all folded, pretty much because of tape, tape, not like all of a sudden not existing anymore. But anyway, what the fuck was I just talking about? I was going to go back to, oh no, I can't remember now. What was I just saying? I was talking about recording. Okay.
Yeah. Recording the way you do, skipping the, just demo straight to,
well, I found that, since we've been recording this way, since I don't have a solid plan going into a song, I'm less likely to mess it up than if I have some solid thing that I know I want to do, You know what I mean? So one takes are a lot more common than if I have a plan and I fuck it up and want to do it again.
They're a lot more common with someone who has the meter to do so without a click, which is rare.
Yeah. But then also recording too has now made it possible to where you can actually punch in if you need to.
True.
It's a lot harder with tape.
True.
And I'm not afraid of doing that stuff. It's like, I don't have to prove that I can play something. If I play a song and I fuck up this one little part, and I'm like, God damn it, get me in, punch me in right there. I want to fix that,
Right.
I don't mind. I mean, guitar players used to do that all the time.
Oh, they still do.
Yeah.
Like every 3 notes now.
Oh yeah, I got a bass player I play with. I call him Punchy.
That's funny.
But
funny.
I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I don't feel like I have to prove that I can play something. It's like, it's not about me anyway. It's about the song.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Now, you all on the Facebook page, there was a picture of you all in the studio with Roy Mayorga. Are you all doing anything? Like, is there something that you can talk about with that, or is something going to happen from that?
Maybe.
That's fun. That's fun. I
That's
wanted
as much as
to
I can
see.
say.
I really, really, really hate that I missed the tour that you all did with Ministry, because you all were playing Night Goat together every night, right?
Yes.
That's so awesome. I would have
it was
loved
fun.
to have seen that.
Yeah. Roy's a great drummer, and
yes, he is.
I can't say anything, but this year will be great.
Cool.
It's our 40-year anniversary. We got all kinds of cool stuff. I've been talking about Bullhead a lot. Look for that. Look for something.
I'm picking up. Cool.
Yeah.
Love that album.
Yeah.
Dropping little hints.
Maybe.
You kind of heard it first here.
Maybe.
Kinda.
You kind of heard something here.
Kinda heard it here first. Maybe.
I could be totally pulling your chain. You never know.
Could be.
Like I said, you can ask me anything you want. Whether or not the truth comes out of my mouth, who knows?
Who knows?
So, recording studio, real quick.
Yeah.
Along the way, have you ever, any tricks you've picked up that have been helpful that you might share, like techniques with blankets or tunnels or overhead?
There's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where to
Nothing
start.
crazy.
I mean, yeah, I like doing the tea towel trick. Is pretty cool if you want to go for like a different sound. I did some of that a couple of Melvins records ago, but I think I started doing it because I was doing a solo record and I wanted to try something different. And so with Toshi Kasai, he's like, yeah, let's try this, like really thin, towels on your toms or your snare, and then tune them down, and then you get like a really deep tone. Something that Ringo used to do, like if you listen to like the song Something or whatever, those big toms at the beginning, they just sound so huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's doing. I think he's got tea towels over the toms and then just tuned down a little bit, just makes them sound huge. But I don't know. I mean, I like doing all kinds of weird experimental stuff. Usually when we set up to do something, Toshi will throw up a couple of stunt microphones, we like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Something going through some kind of crazy effect or a tube or something weird like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other like cool little tricks. So
that's no biggie. It sounds like you guys just like to have fun in there too, which is
sure. Sure. And I really trust Toshi too. With we've been working with him for such a long time now. But I mean, as far as drum sound, I totally just trust his ear and his instincts on things, and it's always comes out good. I don't have to worry. Yeah.
Well, before we go into like touring and what's next, Jeff, do you have any other questions you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. Is there anybody? Okay, you've done a lot of work with a lot of artists throughout the years. Is there anybody that you've wanted to collaborate with that you haven't yet?
Yeah, I don't know. This one always comes up. This is funny. I mentioned this not too long ago either. Like, I don't know, like maybe a producer or something like that. Something like that would be cool. We were big fans of this band, the Latin Playboys, which I know we've probably mentioned a bunch before. They were kind of a side project that with some of the guys from Los Lobos. And it was a couple of those guys. Like I think David Hidalgo was in it, and Chad Blake. And we really liked the production. And we were at one point kind of talking to Chad Blake about doing some stuff, but then it just didn't pan out. I think he ended up moving to like England or something. But I would do something. I think something with David Hidalgo would be really cool. Us being able to afford something like that would be the one thing I think. But I don't know. Yeah, some weird producer. Musically, I don't know. I mean, there's stuff that's coming out that we've actually, have done collaborations with. So I don't know how much I can talk about it.
Fair enough.
Lots of surprises coming out. I don't know. I always thought it'd be fun to do something with Iggy. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Bowie would have been a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I'm sure there's lots I could think of.
Yeah, it's a tough question to just. It's a great question. Not anything wrong with the question,
Right.
but
Well, just trying to think of people like that are still around that would be like really great to do something with.
when this interview's
Deborah
over,
Deborah Harry, how about that?
I'm sorry, who?
Deborah Harry.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like an hour from now, he'll be having more coffee in his
Yeah,
kitchen or
right.
something, and he'll have like 50 names come to his mind.
Yeah,
It's hard to on the spot think of that. You know what I mean? I
sure.
don't know, but yeah, Deborah Harry. Wow, she's still around too. My goodness.
Yeah. I'm hoping to go see Blondie play at some point this year. I have a couple opportunities. So, and I like Clem Burke a lot. He's a great drummer.
Yes.
So I just saw him in Palm Springs. He was out for an event that happened. This was really cool. You guys all know who Hal Blaine is, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Every drummer
Yep.
out there better. If you don't, look him up. You do know who he is because you've heard songs that he's played on. He was getting a star on the sidewalk in Palm Springs, and I went there and to the event. And Clem was there, and he gave a little speech talking about Hal, and then also one of the guys from the Wrecking Crew, the guy that played piano and keyboards on a lot of the stuff, and then one of the guys that also made the Wrecking Crew movie, whose dad was a guitar player. And Clem was playing afterwards, which was really cool. He was playing with this guy Don, who was. He played on a bunch of the Wrecking Crew stuff. A lot of Glenn Campbell, Beach Boys.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Etc.
Hal Blaine played with the Beach Boys as well. I mean,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And then so I was talking with Clem a little bit, and we're at this little club after the event, and he's going to play, and he comes walking past me and goes to say hello to this lady who's sitting right behind me, and I turn around, I'm like, that's Nancy Sinatra. Wow. And Hal Blaine had played on Boots, and they played Boots, and she sang. It was awesome. It was really cool. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So now I can say that I hung out in Palm Springs with a Sinatra.
I can't remember. My mind is. Neil Diamond was another big one he played with, and we already said the Beach Boys. There was another big. Well, Simon and Garfunkel, right?
Elvis.
That's right.
Need we say more? No.
No, that's another big one.
Yeah.
My
There we
goodness.
Now we can move on.
Hey, cool. So what's next for the band? Let's wrap it up
like
here.
I said, 40-year anniversary, and we're going to start by we're doing a tour with Mr. Bungle. Just in it's mostly West
Hang on,
Coast.
Jeff's gonna explode. Jeff's gonna explode.
Yeah, you're gonna
I'm
come out
so
and see any of
excited
those
for the
shows?
tour. I'm so excited.
Great. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're playing a big festival in Vegas. Those guys are on that too. And then we're going to Europe after that. We haven't been there in a long time, so since before the pandemic.
Well, here you go. That answers
That'll be a
that
lot of
question
fun.
for you, Denny.
Yeah.
They're coming to Europe. Get your
Yep.
tickets.
Coming to Europe. I think it's been announced. Tickets should be on sale. And then after that, we've got more touring plans in the States. So I don't know if anything's announced yet, but yeah, there's more stuff coming. Lots of shows.
Now,
Lots of shows, lots of releases.
as far as the show with or the tour with Mr. Bungle, what are the chances of getting a Fantômas Melvins big band? since majority of everybody's there.
I lost audio for a second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I lost you for 10 seconds there.
Oh, as far as the upcoming tour with Mr. Bungle, what are the chances of getting a Fantômas Melvins big band performance?
Can you hear me? Okay.
We lost the audio. I lost the audio somehow, guys. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yes? I can't hear you. I don't know what the hell happened.
Huh.
Weird.
Huh.
Son of a... I'm sorry. You were there for a second and then you're gone.
Well, we'll just give it a second. Maybe it's a bandwidth thing. Just
maybe.
I'm really sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Lost you. I can do anything here. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello?
There you are. There you are.
Yeah?
I'm not sure why. Yeah, you're back.
All right, don't even look at it. Don't even touch it.
Okay.
It's sustained, but it's not playing. Well, you would hear it if it were playing. Jeff, go with your question before something drops out again.
Okay. One more time. The upcoming tour with Mr. Bungle. What are the chances of getting a Fantômas Melvins big band performance?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Yeah, right. Yeah,
because everybody's there. We've got all the elements.
That's true. I mean, if there was a chance to do something, that would be really cool. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'd recently had an interview with Dave Lombardo, and I haven't seen him for a long time, so that'll be fun. Yeah, we were talking about that tour that we had done. So I remember a gig in particular that I brought up where we went to Canada to play some jazz festival, and we were on performance-enhancing drugs. Dave and I were. I think the whole band was. It was this stuff called Truckers Love It. It was like stuff you get at a truck stop, and I think it was just, it was like legal trucker uptime,
Right.
And they had this stuff. It was just nasty. It was like this black spray, but you would just get. I mean, boy, you could really play a show. But I remember we were so just like amped up at the end of the show. I remember him rolling around this gong on stage. And I think they wanted to charge us for abusing the gong. I mean, I don't remember, I don't remember anything bad other than it being rolled around on stage, but it's pretty funny. I'd never seen anybody do that before. Dave Lombardo, gong roller.
Such a great guy. Let me just throw this out there that Sick Drummer Magazine does not endorse any trucker drugs. Thank you.
They don't exist anymore. Now they're outlawed, but back then it was all legal.
Those were the days.
Right. I mean, it was just like high-powered caffeine or whatever.
Yeah. For those long hauls.
Right.
Oh, I'm shaking just thinking about it. I can't even drink coffee anymore without it feeling like a speedball.
Yeah.
Oh, not my thing.
Yeah, well, that's the way I go before I play a gig. I've got to have an espresso or a 5-hour energy or something like that. Those are my peds.
Aside from that, what else do you? That's another question, real quick, before we head out of here. Do you have any pre-show rituals aside from coffee, like warm up?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but a lot of pacing. A lot of pacing around and looking at the clock, wondering when it's time to play.
That's the warm up.
A lot of nervous pee in the bathroom time. But yeah, I warm up. I do. Doubles and stuff like that to loosen up. Whatever.
Nice.
Doubles and flams and ratty McHughes and all your,
Flam on the table.
Yeah. Flamadiddle, flamity flams, all that stuff.
That's great. You got to know them. Like, to take this full circle back to the beginning of the interview for what may be one of the most awful segues in history. It's good to know your rudiments. And it's good to start with a pad and a snare drum, because so many drummers today try to fly before they learn to walk, and it does not help you get anywhere. So, practice your rudiments, kids, and master.
I think they know that. They know that nowadays with YouTube and things like that. You can, there's so much stuff out there.
You'd be surprised at the number of guys in metal that cannot play an AC/DC song, but can blast at 280 beats per minute. And that's where I'm going with this. It's if you want to get to 280, you better master 120.
That's
all
right.
I'm
Yeah.
saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, sir, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor
Yeah.
to have you on here and talk to you for a little while. I will put links to everything you in the video description so people can stay tuned and find out what you've got coming up and going on. Not that anybody doesn't really know who you are at this point, but
right. And I apologize for my lame background. I mean, really, it was going to be like a Purple Sparkle PV kit.
My apologies.
You know, my apologies. I mean,
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Next
Yeah.
time.
And it was a beautiful kit. It was like my dream kit.
Oh,
PV drums.
Well, we're going to have to get you on another one of these after the European tour, and we can have your purple
Sure.
PT background up there, and I'll buy you coffee and send it to you before the show.
That sounds good. And then I'll talk my head off.
Well, Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Dale, thanks again for taking the time on a Saturday. You have now become the second drummer ever featured on a live YouTube interview, and it's pretty
Excellent.
awesome to have it be you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm humbled to say the least.
All right.
So thank you again. Safe travels. Please do keep in touch, and we hope to see you on the road.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Hope to see you guys too. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Adele.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jeff. Bye. Bye, Ian.